education, health, industry, and applied statistics. As you all know, this program has enabled the establishment of 29 centers of excellence and 4 innovation hubs in the region, which definitely will play a pivotal role to the socio-economic growth of the respective countries, the region, and Africa at large. Chief guests, ladies and gentlemen, as you also know, the ASET2 program started in 2015, 2016, when the region was not producing enough skilled graduates required for expanding and diversifying economy. Then, the region was lagging far behind, especially in the generation of graduates in science and technology, health, and related disciplines. Just to give you a few examples, in Rwanda and Tanzania, the percentage of enrollment in the arts and social sciences in universities was 60 and 45% respectively, compared to only 20% of sciences and 9% in engineering disciplines. There's a huge gap between the two. In Mozambique, only 8% of the enrollment and 4% of graduates were in engineering and technology, comparing to 44% in social sciences and 47% in businesses. So as we can see, the region was producing not enough scientists to sustain research and innovation that is very pivotal for economic transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, at the time of initiation of the project, many university graduates were not able to find jobs due to poor quality and low relevance of their education and training. Moreover, faculty qualifications were inadequate for production of critical mass of scientists and researchers required to trigger economic growth. Very few faculty members had terminal degrees, especially in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics disciplines. Many higher education institutions had no resources to attract top quality faculty, nor did they provide faculty support with research facilities due to resources constraint. It was estimated that only about 100 PhDs were produced by higher education institutions per year across 31 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, including our countries, which take part in this project, in areas of science, technology, engineering. At the time this project started, 100 PhDs in 31 countries is a very, very small number. For example, Rwanda, Malawi, Uganda, and Zambia were producing only 54, 123, 83, and 49 researchers, respectively, per million inhabitants. In comparison, Malaysia and Thailand were producing 1,780 and 546 researchers per million inhabitants, respectively. The gap is huge. Ladies and gentlemen, in terms of research and the number of quality researchers, our region was contributing less than 2% of the global research output, in just 0.1% of patents. For example, between the year 2005 and 2012, Ethiopia acquired only 1 patent. Kenya, for example, acquired 29. The number is still small if you want to make a head-on in innovation and technology transfer. Furthermore, weak accountability systems for higher education institutions led to inadequate quality of education across the region. In addition, there was minimal engagement with private sector in curriculum development and training programs, resulting to the mismatch in the skills produced and the skills required by the market. Again, the most affected fields were science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, these all statistics help us to reflect on the overall contribution of this project and the impact it has demonstrated to development skilled workforce and hence its potential contribution to economic growth. Honorable Minister, as you will see the achievement of this project, you will test on our way to change this history due to the achievements it's already recorded. Now, this brings me to the objective of this meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, the 3-day meeting that we're going to have here is not just another scientific conference. The meeting is designed for all of us to undertake an honest and fair assessment on the impact of the project by answering the following questions. Has the ASSET-2 project enabled provision of solutions to both social and economic challenges in the region? Has the project created sufficient numbers and quality of high-level skills in key priority areas, namely agriculture, education, health, industry, and statistics? Is the design and the financing model used good enough for similar project programs to the region? What need to be changed and what need to be strengthened? Has the project improved the governance and management of universities? And finally, we need to ask ourselves if the project delivered outreach and created an impact to the society by delivering excellent teaching and producing high quality applied research. Ladies and gentlemen, to address these questions, we have invited centers to submit implementation completion reports addressing the following aspects: theories of change and pathways to anticipated impacts, the assessment and relevance and impact of the project at country and regional level, the extent and level of skills and competencies developed, deliver quality postgraduate education, research, and innovation. Just to give you a glimpse of the achievements, Honorable Minister, the project has recorded tremendous achievement, and it is changing the narrative, the history that I've mentioned in terms of statistics, in terms of research, postgraduate programs, and employability is bound to change. For example, details of achievement, detail will be given by the presentations after me, by the coordinator of the project, but number of programs, both at master's and PhDs, that have been accredited is over 240. The number of graduates, both at master's and PhD, is over 7,550. And the publications recorded just in 6 years is over 3,700. This is huge achievement in a very short time. And I think we should commend ourselves on this achievement. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate center leaders, deputy center leaders, and project staff for the hard work and support in the implementation of this project. Now, I want to assure you that IUCER, an intergovernmental body responsible for the development of higher education in East Africa, community will continue engaging the centers with the view of ensuring that all initiatives related to quality assurance, faculty and students' mobility, regional accreditation of programs, and innovation hubs are maintained. At IUSER, we engage our members very closely within our activities, and we engage them through various convening. We engage them through establishment of networks of member institutions of similar interests. Would like to call upon Center of Excellence's finishing to start establishing those networks. And IUSER, we pledge to support those networks to ensure that the mission, the vision, the objective of the establishment continues to bear fruits. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, as we close Asset 2, the project will continue with Asset 2 additional financing, which supports 5 centers of excellence, one of which is from Mozambique. IUSER, through Asset 2 additional financing, will be supporting the following: establishment of a think tank to promote knowledge generation, regional policy development, collaboration and advocacy around agri-food systems in the Eastern and Southern Africa region. IUSER will help in the enhancement of regional network of agriculture, higher education institutions, through knowledge exchange and facilitating staff and student mobility. IUSER will help the establishment of incubation centers in these centers to enhance innovation and business incubation in agri-food systems. And IUSER will help to facilitate resource mobilization efforts, including training for development of funding proposals, among other activities. In undertaking these activities, IUSER will take advantage of the capacity of the existing centers of excellences that are completing their operations today under the project. Now, your role and position as regional institutions will continue to be supported and enhanced through engagement of IUSER. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, to finish, allow me to extend my sincere thanks to the Vice Chancellors who led the journey to transform postgraduate education and research on the East and Southern Africa through these centers of excellence. I would like to thank leaders and directors of the centers, students, project partners, and everybody for successfully delivering the project beyond our own expectations with the support of IUSER, which is the Regional Facilitation Unit. Now, it is impossible to conclude my appreciation without thanking the World Bank teams from Washington and in the country offices for their professional leadership, technical support from the beginning to the end of this project. And I believe this is not the end. We expect more support from the World Bank, understanding our dynamics, the gaps existing, and the need to move forward. I think more support will be needed by countries in the region. Allow me to thank the Regional Steering Committee, a regional governing body, for the leadership and support through the project, through the chairperson, Professor Gulam. I would like to thank the Regional Steering Committee for advocating for regional collaboration in higher education and acting as a liaison between the program, regional leadership, in your respective countries. Now, last but not least, I would like to demonstrate special thanks to the Regional Facilitation Unit at IUSER, headed by Dr. Mwambo. Let's give a special thank by clapping. They have done a tremendous job. They have done a commendable job. And we have to appreciate your dedication and commitment to this project. And we believe the same spirit will continue, not only with additional financing, but also in keeping the centers together through IUSER. Thank you very much. Now, while I finish, allow me to invite you, Honorable Minister, to come and give your remarks as well as opening this important meeting. Thank you very much.
Permita-me começar por saudar a todos, em especial ao magnífico reitor da Universidade Eduardo Mondlane, que vejo aqui presente, também a excelentíssima vice-reitora acadêmica da UEM, magníficos reitores das universidades regionais, excelentíssimo senhor secretário executivo da Interuniversidade Council for East Africa, professor Gaspar Banyankimbona, e também excelentíssimo senhor secretário executivo adjunto da Interuniversity Council for East Africa, professor Idris Rai, excelentíssima senhora Roberta Bassett e demais representantes, neste caso agora a representante do Banco Mundial, doutora Ana Menezes, excelentíssimo senhor coordenador do projeto dos Centros de Excelência de África, doutor Jonathan Mwambo e a sua equipa de trabalho, aos excelentíssimos senhores dirigentes de instituições de ensino superior, públicas e privadas, aos excelentíssimos senhores membros da Unidade de Facilitação Regional e do Comitê Diretivo Regional dos Centros de Excelência de África, aos excelentíssimos senhores membros do Comitê Diretivo Nacional dos Centros de Excelência de África em Moçambique, estimados senhores diretores e diretores adjuntos dos Centros Regionais de Excelência de África, estimados representantes dos parceiros dos Centros Regionais de Excelência da Universidade de Eduardo Mondlane, caros participantes, distintos convidados, minhas senhoras e meus senhores. Como devem imaginar, é com enorme satisfação, regozijo que o governo de Moçambique e o Ministério da Ciência, Tecnologia e Ensino Superior participa neste encontro de aconselhamento técnico dos Centros de Excelência de África, AC2, e do encontro do Comitê Diretivo Regional. E gostaríamos de transmitir os nossos mais cordiais e calorosos cumprimentos a todos quanto testemunham a realização desta cerimônia de abertura desta importante atividade. Aos participantes presenciais a este evento, vão as nossas boas-vindas a Moçambique e a nossa capital, cidade de Maputo, de modo particular. Também gostaríamos de, nesta parte inicial de nossa comunicação, reconhecer o notável envolvimento e complemento de sinergias entre a Interuniversity Council for East Africa, o Comitê Diretivo Regional dos Centros de Excelência de África, o Comitê Nacional dos Centros de Excelência de África em Moçambique, o Banco Mundial e demais entidades que tornaram possível a realização deste encontro de aconselhamento técnico dos Centros de Excelência de África e do encontro do Comitê Diretivo Regional. Agradecemos a todos e dizemos bem-aja também a todos. Caros participantes, como sabemos, Moçambique é um país que, como muitos outros países da região subsaariana, possui vários recursos naturais, com especial destaque para uma das maiores reservas mundiais de gás natural. A sua exploração, de forma racional e sustentável, pode alavancar o país a um novo patamar de desenvolvimento socioeconômico, contribuindo de forma decisiva para a erradicação da pobreza, do desemprego e de muitos outros problemas com os quais o país se debate. E para o efeito, torna-se importante que o país aposte na formação de quadros nacionais que possam participar ativamente e contribuir para a criação de uma cadeia que agregue valor a este importante recurso energético. E ciente deste fato que em 2016 o nosso governo decidiu aceitar o desafio de criar e implementar o Centro de Excelência em Estudos de Engenharia e Tecnologia de Petróleo e Gás. Este centro está hospedado na nossa Universidade Eduardo Mondlane. Em nosso entender, este Centro de Excelência em Estudos de Engenharia e Tecnologia de Petróleo e Gás tem, entre outras, a responsabilidade de apoiar os esforços de Moçambique e de toda a região na formação pós-graduada de jovens talentosos como uma forma de garantir a sua integração e participação ativa e decisiva nos interesses nacionais e regionais na área de petróleo e gás. Por isso mesmo, a criação recente de um segundo Centro de Excelência de África em 2023, na área de sistemas agroalimentares de nutrição, reflete a necessidade de uma forma holística o nosso país e a região capacitarem com recursos humanos de nível superior, capazes de participar de forma criativa e inovadora nos processos de utilização da terra e dos recursos hídricos para uma prática agrícola racional, sustentável e resiliente, capaz de garantir a segurança alimentar e nutricional, a erradicação da fome e o bem-estar das nossas populações. Minhas senhoras e meus senhores, distintos convidados, a questão premente da segurança alimentar para a população não pode ser dissociada da questão do acesso à energia limpa e segura, tal como está preconizado o Objetivo de Desenvolvimento Sustentável 2030, adotados pelos países membros das Nações Unidas em 2015. Esperamos, assim, que os dois centros de excelência ora mencionados e que, por coincidência, estão localizados, hospedados na Universidade de Mondlane, esperamos que esses dois centros, numa perspectiva de interdisciplinaridade, aproveitem estas sinergias para a adoção de programas de formação holísticos e o desenvolvimento de atividades de pesquisa aplicada viradas para a solução dos problemas ambientais emergentes e se associem ao esforço global relacionado com a inevitável transição energética dos combustíveis de origem fóssil para as energias renováveis e promovam a resiliência climática essencial para o desenvolvimento dos sistemas agroalimentares e de nutrição no nosso país e na região. Assim, manifestamos o desejo e votos para que os centros de excelência implementados em Moçambique e, ao mesmo tempo, estendemos os mesmos votos aos outros centros de excelência de África, hoje reunidos, de modo que eles abraçam o desafio de se tornarem, de fato, os centros de excelência na formação dos recursos humanos e também possam corresponder àquilo que é o interesse vital para o desenvolvimento socioeconômico dos países da nossa região subsaariana. Estas áreas em questão, dos diferentes centros de ciência que aqui estão reunidos, abrangem a saúde, a educação, as tecnologias de informação e comunicação, a agricultura e a área integrada das ciências, tecnologias, engenharias e matemática, que são, de fato, áreas essenciais e, como dissemos, nós esperamos que este encontro possa, digamos, incrementar cada vez mais a sua contribuição destes centros para o desenvolvimento socioeconômico da nossa região. Tomamos conhecimento que este projeto dos centros de excelência encontra-se numa fase de implementação que caminha para o seu fim, pelo que é nossa expectativa que estes centros possam debater nesses 3 dias assuntos inerentes ao seu progresso, deliberar sobre os principais resultados, demonstrar a contribuição do projeto para os objetivos mais elevados dos países da região e extrair as necessárias ilações com vista ao desenho e implementação de programas futuros. E fazemos votos de debates intensos e frutíferos no decurso destes encontros técnicos de direção, na esperança de que os mesmos confirmem a nossa apreciação relativamente à implementação deste projeto, considerando que um caso de sucesso a ser replicado noutras iniciativas do gênero na região. Agradecemos a coordenação do projeto dos Centros de Excelência de África, a liderança da Inter-University Council of East Africa, ao Banco Mundial, que é o nosso financiador, e aos membros do Comitê Diretivo Regional, pelo apoio incondicional que têm prestado aos Centros de Excelência de África e por terem escolhido Maputo, a nossa capital, a cidade das Acácias, para acolher este evento tão importante. Esperamos que tenham uma boa estadia e que, para além dos resultados do encontro, que já auguramos que sejam positivos, possam desfrutar dos vários motivos turísticos, de lazer e de entretenimento que esta cidade oferece. E com estas palavras tenho a elevada honra e satisfação em declarar aberto o encontro de aconselhamento técnico dos Centros de Excelência de África e o encontro do Comitê Diretivo Regional. Pela vossa atenção, o meu muito obrigado.
Muito obrigada, Excelência, por estas palavras de abertura desta nossa reunião técnica e de aconselhamento do projeto Centros de Excelência. Chegados a este momento, gostaria de convidar o professor Gulam para fazer os seus votos de agradecimentos. Professor Gulam.
Honorable Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education of Mozambique, I've been given the very pleasant duty of thanking. You can't hear? Speak louder. I've been given the very pleasant duty of thanking you for your presence this morning. And I do so on behalf of the whole family of the ACEs in Eastern and Southern Africa. When I say the family, what I mean is, for example, the World Bank, which initiated the project, which designed the project, and which conceived the project and followed it right through and made sure that finances were available to execute the project. By the family, I also mean the 8 countries, the 8 African countries in Eastern and Southern Africa, who gladly agreed to host an ACE in their respective universities, being very, very mindful of the importance of such a project in the development of their own countries. The family also includes the universities and the ACEs in those 8 African countries, which worked on this project, which accommodated the requirements of the terms of reference of the project, and which tried to do their best to make sure that the project will be successful. The family also includes the Inter-University Council for East Africa and the Regional Facilitating Unit, which coordinated the project and which coordinated all the ACEs and ensured that everything was working well and that trying to sort out any hitches that come across. The family also includes the Regional Steering Committee, which I have had the honor to chair, which I'm chairing at the moment, which coordinates and makes sure that everything is going well as far as the ACES is concerned, but also that the Regional Facilitation Unit is performing and doing the duties that it is supposed to do. And finally, the family also includes the national steering committees in each of those 8 countries, representatives of various ministries, private sector, and so on, which made sure that they were overseeing the work of the ACES at national level and providing feedback to the regional steering committee. So on behalf of all these people, Honorable Minister, thank you indeed for your presence this morning. Thank you for delivering such an encouraging and important speech in the history of the ACE2 project. Thank you also to Mozambique for hosting this meeting, the first time it's doing so, and also for the very, very warm welcome that we have received, all of us who come from outside Mozambique. And every effort has been made by all the organizing committee and all the partners concerned in Mozambique to ensure that we really feel at home when coming to Maputo. As we're approaching the end of this project, I would like, with your permission, Honorable Minister, to make a few general comments. First of all, there is no question that the ACE2 has been a very successful project. As I was mentioned to you, Honorable Minister, I remember way back in 2015, when the project was being formulated, there were comments made that this is unlikely that many of the ACES will succeed because of the nature of the project. And I heard a comment which said, well, it doesn't really matter. Even if 50% of the ACES succeed, even if 50% of the ACES succeed, as far as the World Bank is concerned, we will consider this as a successful project. The outcome today is that not just 50%, but we're approaching 100% success in all the ACES. And this is commendable. Commendable to all the ACES, to all the countries, to all the universities for the tremendous amount of work that has been put into it. But as we end the project, there are a few issues that we need to consider. First of all, the issue of sustainability of the ACES. I think each country, each university, and each ACE must be clear in their own mind that this is not really the end of the project. It's a continuation of the project. What has been started, the efforts must be maintained and ensure that the work being done continues after the so-called end of the project. Sustainability has been an important item on the agenda of the Regional Steering Committee for the past 2 years, and will continue to ensure that the ACES are actually sustainable in all the universities, in all the countries. Of course, we do understand that not all the countries, but all the universities understand sustainability in the same way. And we accept that. Each country and each university is independent, and they can decide how they want to make sure that there is sustainability. The important thing is that this project, when the funding stops, doesn't end here, but continues the good work that has been started. The second comment is one which, in a way, you referred to, Honorable Minister, is to encourage collaboration and networking among the ACES. This has already started. There are groups already working in certain specific areas to make sure that there is exchange that can take place and that there can be continuity in this collaboration. It can go even further in one ACE collaborating specifically with another ACE in a similar area so that each ACE benefits from the work of the other. And I would say go beyond Eastern and Southern Africa. There are ACES that many ACEs, approaching 40, that are in the Western and Central Africa, and there's no reason at all why the ACEs in Eastern and Southern Africa should not collaborate with the ACEs in the Western and Central Africa. Collaboration is the key word to ensure that we maximize resources, we share resources, and we make sure that all the elements are there to move Africa forward. The third element, and one again that the Regional Steering Committee has been talking about for the past 18 months or so, is the idea of creating new ACEs. Already we have ACEs that are created under what is known as additional financing. And as you know, Honorable Minister, one of the ACE is located here in Mozambique, and the others are in Malawi. But we are thinking beyond that. We are thinking of also ACEs, new ACEs to be created in areas different from what has already been approved, with already been work on which has already been done, in new emerging areas for Africa, for the importance of Africa. And there is interest. All the countries, the majority of the countries, I would say, have expressed support and willingness to move the ACE project forward. And we hope this will go through. I don't know of any project in Africa where so many countries, so many partners, whether academic partners, universities, and also the private sector have come together to push forward a topic, an area which is so important, all the topics are so important for the development of Africa. I think we mustn't let this end here. This is, let us say, the beginning of a next important phase that's going to come in the years ahead. With those few words, Honorable Minister, once again, let me express the appreciation of every one of your presence today. If I may take the liberty of saying something which others here present will probably appreciate. We have had TAM meetings in many countries, but not in many countries have the minister turned up on time, before time. And this shows your commitment and your support to the whole project. Thank you once again.
Muito obrigada, professor Gulam, presidente do Comitê Diretivo Regional do Projeto Centros de Excelência em Ensino Superior em África. Neste momento, para dar seguimento à nossa reunião, gostaria de pedir ao presídio para permanecer, por forma aqui o Dr. Jonathan Gwambo, da Unidade de Facilitação Regional do Projeto Centros de Excelência, possa fazer a apresentação do quadro de resultados da implementação deste projeto. Dr. Jonathan.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for accepting to listen to our presentation. I'm going to look at the performance of the project and try to concretize from the two speakers, Professor Rai and Anna, on the performance of this project. And therefore, I'm going to follow the following outline. Next, please. I'm going to look at the introduction, mainly looking at the context, the objective of the project, the target that we set forth when we started this project, our performance, but I'm also going to look at the scope and the regional activities of the asset 2 additional financing, and then I'll make a conclusion. As you're aware, the project is a regional program designed to address high-level skills shortage in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and related fields. The project started at a time when only about 100 PhDs were produced with specialization in science, technology, and engineering. We started when the region was contributing less than 2% of the global research output and just 0.1% of the patents. If you look at the number of researchers per 1 million inhabitants, our numbers were quite low. In some countries, less than 50. Next slide, please. In some countries, less than 50 PhD researchers in 1 million inhabitants compared to countries like Malaysia or Thailand, which had quite a huge number of people participating as researchers in their respective countries. The most affected sectors at the time when we started this program were industry, particularly engineering and manufacturing, agriculture, health, education, and applied statistics. These were the most affected sectors, but they also sectors which had potential for economic transformation in the region. So if we look at the industry, there was low graduation in the field of engineering, manufacturing, and construction. For Rwanda, for example, of the total number of graduates produced, only 11% were from engineering, 6% for Uganda, around 4% for Mozambique, 17% for Kenya, and about 5% for Ethiopia. In agriculture, there was a very high shortage of high skill levels to drive innovative research and teaching for agricultural advancement. Specifically, the sector suffered the shortage in terms of subsectors like agribusiness and entrepreneurship, crop science, plant breeding, molecular science and biotechnology, water and irrigation engineering, food preservation and processing. In health, we also had the challenges. Life expectancy at the time we started this project was around 60 years, 9 years for Southern Africa. Infectious diseases accounted for 40 to 50% of illness in the region, and this affected both animals and human at the time when we started this project. The region had the inadequate capacity for management of epidemics, mainly due to lack of qualified personnel and the specialized facilities. Knowledge in traditional medicine was lacking, and it was not fully explored. Can you quickly go to the next slides, please? Next. Next. Next slide, please. No, one before, please. I'm looking at the institutional context. Here I'm looking at the capacity of university to offer high-level training. The subsector was not sufficiently matching the development needs of the region. The sector was largely input-driven and funded with inadequate attention to performance and results. Many universities in the region did not have sufficient number of qualified faculty, and therefore the training quality was very low compared to the rest of the world. Next slide. So we agreed to build capacity to provide the quality postgraduate education, build capacity to conduct high quality research, build capacity to develop partnership with the academic institutions, but also capacity. Next slide, please. Capacity to develop partnership with the industry and the private sector, and improve governance and management of universities, but also deliver outreach and create an impact to society by delivering excellent teaching and research. So those are the targets that we started with. We had targets for enrollment of students, we had targets for publication, partnership and collaborations with private sector, but also generation of income. Next slide. Next, please. So the project generally, like the other speakers have said, the project performed very well over the years. All the intended project development objectives have been achieved before the closure of the project, and all intermediate results are also achieved. Next. If we look at the numbers that comes out of this project is that we have achieved the target for enrollment of masters and PhD students. But one important fact about this slide is we concentrated on trying to increase the number of female scholars, but also increase the number of mobility of students moving from one country to another. So our mobility program, our target for mobility program were reached, but our target for enrollment of female students is also achieved as indicated in this figure. Next slide. If you look at the partnership that we wanted to develop, we have also reached the target. Now we are recording 366 MOU signed with private sector or academic institutions. Next. For accreditation programs, we have so far accredited 242 programs, some of them internationally accredited. One thing that to note from this slide is that the targets were achieved during the second and half years of implementation of the project. So we started achieving this target much earlier than we thought. And the numbers at the end of this project is now 242 program accredited. Next slide. For direct beneficiaries here, I'm referring to students, member of communities, faculty, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Our target was to do 3,676. Now we are recording 20,000 beneficiaries attended by this project. And out of these beneficiaries, 35% of them are female scholars. Again, the targets were reached during the second year of implementation of this program. Next. For faculty and PhD student exchange, our numbers are also equally impressive. One thing to note here, we wanted to do exchange of faculty and students, but also boost the mobility of female scholars. And in this case, we've achieved the results for female mobility. And the target was 198, but now we're reporting more than 1,000 female scholars who have moved from their institution to other institutions. Next. For sustainability, we also attempted to do external generation of revenue. And I'm glad to inform you that we achieved this target at around the third year of implementation of the program. Our target was to do $29 million revenue, but now we're recording $43 million, which is around one third of the total investment of the program in the region. So it's quite impressive. For publication, this is again another very good achievement. We did this one out to the third year of implementation. Our target was to do 1,454, but now we're recording more than 3,000 publications reported by the centers. One thing to note from this slide is that our publications are now done by regional partners compared to international partners. So initially we started with the very minimum collaboration among ourselves. But now we are collaborating with among ourselves, but also with our partner from the north. We established 4 incubation centers at different universities: Nelson Mandela African Institute of Science and Technology, Mbarara University of Science and Technology, Moi University, and the University of Rwanda. These are all supporting. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next. This incubation center have been supporting young entrepreneurs to develop and test their products for commercialization, supported the young innovators to launch companies and products, but also foster entrepreneurial mindset among young innovators and provide opportunities for mentorship, coaching, and the establishment or starting of the startups. Next. We have a new baby in the program, which is the ASET2 additional financing, which is a partnership between the World Bank and Malawi and Mozambique. And these 2 countries agreed with the World Bank to establish 5 new centers of excellence specializing in agriculture, and further support 1 center of excellence from the parent project to also participate in the program. The ASET2 additional financing is scaling up the success of ASET2 model to further build the regional capacity, mainly in agriculture. Next. So these are the centers of excellence that we are establishing. We have one at Mzuzu University, University of Malawi, Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources has 3 centers, and your own Center of Excellence in Agri-Food Systems and Nutrition at Eduardo Mondlane University in Mozambique. Next. As you can see from their names, these centers are going to specialize in rural innovation and agricultural extension, agribusiness and entrepreneurship, agri-food systems and nutrition, agriculture policy analysis, statistical analysis and foresight, but also aspect of risk management and climate change proofing. Next. So the program with the ASETU additional financing is also going to support some regional activities. One of them has already started. This is the support to 60 female scholars to undertake MSc in agriculture and allied sciences. So far, 39 students have reported, and we are expecting the remaining students to report in December and January next year. The program is also going to enhance regional network through knowledge exchange and staff and student mobility, establishment of a think tank to promote knowledge generation, regional policy development and advocacy, and the focus will be on agri-food systems in general. Next slide. The program is also going to facilitate business incubation and establishment of 4 incubation centers. It will also support resource mobilization efforts, including training for development of proposals for resource mobilization. And I want to emphasize here that we're also going to invest on leadership and management, particularly for central leaders, but also members of faculty at leadership position. And we're also going to enhance capacity for fiduciary, social, and environmental aspects, as well as prevention of gender-based violence in our respective countries, but also in the region. Next. So I want to make a conclusion by saying that we started this program with the consensus that SS will offer optimal way to build and sustain excellency in higher education in the region. I think from these results and from the discussion that we had last year and even in May, we have built and supported the establishment of 29 centers of excellency, and these centers are performing very well. The only thing that we need to ask ourselves is how to step up the program. And in this case, we need to honestly demonstrate the extent to which the program has contributed to higher goals related to economic transformation, but also community well-being. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Muito obrigada, Dr. Jonathan, por dar esta visão geral dos resultados alcançados pelo projeto. E vamos dar seguimento ao nosso encontro. E neste momento anuncio a retirada do presídio desta sala e convido a todos os participantes a se levantar e proceder com a orientação do protocolo para a foto de família. Muito obrigada. Anuncio que a foto de família vai ser feita nas escadas e o protocolo irá orientar a todos para o posicionamento. I would like to announce that the family photo is going to take place on the stairs. The protocol will guide us to the place. Thank you so much.
Countries of Africa way behind, especially now.
The cafe is in line with the vision of CDT Africa to be a world-class center for groundbreaking therapeutic discoveries and development, particularly drugs tailored more for diseases in Africa.
The main focus is dedicated to innovators, and the idea is really to encourage innovation, to encourage clear thinking. We really encourage any idea. We don't think any idea is bad. To use a bad word to it. So anyone with an idea can provide a specific business system. So that's the whole idea of the impact. So we started product development really in 2018, and the natural and septic idea we were talking about when COVID came. Of course, we developed them into a proper product. It's can be regulatory approval to make it available for market.
Currently, postdoctoral fellows are using the InnoCafe facilities to work on a range of products, including new therapeutics for underserved diseases, especially by utilizing resources in traditional medicine. Dr. Fozia Ali Adem is working on a treatment for scabies using traditional medicinal plants.
Working on developing new drug for the treatment of scabies from traditionally used medicinal plant. So majority of the populations here in Africa highly affected by scabies.
Dr. Gizachu Hisma completed his PhD in Japan in 2016 and joined CDT Africa as a postdoctoral research fellow in 2019. His research is on diagnostic kit development.
CDT Africa is a new center which mainly focuses on medical product development or medical discovery. So my dream in the earlier times when I was doing my master's program and my PhD program was supporting developing countries to produce their own medical products, the drugs, the vaccines, and the diagnostics. So when I see the call from CDT Africa, I was very interested to join this program.
Since joining CDT Africa, Gizachu has already benefited from training with an international private sector partner in South Korea.
For the last 6 months, I was there in Korea just for capacity.
Moçambique, o teu nome é liberdade. O sol de junho para sempre brilhará. Moçambique, nossa terra gloriosa, construindo um novo dia. Milhões de braços, com nossa força, oh pátria amada, vamos vencer. Moçambique, nossa terra gloriosa, construindo um novo dia. Milhões de braços, com nossa força, oh pátria amada, vamos vencer. O bonito do roubo mal mabuto, olha os frutos do combate pela paz. Cresce o sonho ondulando na bandeira,
There's approaching 40 that are in the
building training program on product development. So in the 6 months period, I took different building trainings. First thing, the most important one was the biosafety, standard biosafety and biosecurity trainings in product developing laboratories. The other thing is hands-on skill training, is how to develop diagnostics in resource-limited countries like Ethiopia.
In South Korea,
Tropical infectious disease, that's leishmania.
leishmaniasis is very common in Ethiopia and countries. There are several diagnostic methods.
Stable in storage and in transportation and affordable to the Lord health system.
The kit has to undergo several tests before it advances to commercialization.
So before commercialization, we need to prepare so many things. We need to prepare the checklist. We need to do a multi-centered trial based on the WHO standard. And then we need to get, for the multi-centered trial, we need to get ethical clearance. So now we developed the proposal. We are developing the checklist based on the WHO standard. And then we submitted the proposal for ethical clearance to start a multi-centered trial. So after that, if it's okay, if it works, if it's comparable with the existing, or if it is better than the existing test, after that, we will get license from the respected agencies for approval, and then we will release it for commercialization.
The center leader for CDT Africa, Dr. Abiba Fikadu, says that to produce a product, you not only need the facilities and the scientists, but you also need the soft things.
You need intellectual property patent approval systems to work. How do you produce it on a large scale? You need the money. So part of the question is whether you get financier. So, and the other issue is insurance. For example, for clinical trials, you need insurance. So what we are trying to do is to understand the broader innovation ecosystem.
Another postdoctoral research fellow, Dr. Balette Adefris Lajes, is working on a drug development project in the synthesis of active pharmaceutical ingredients and natural product chemistry to develop herbal products for skincare topical application. Dr. Balette, who studied his PhD at Northeastern University in the US, is concerned about the poor support for researchers in Africa.
Africa's research contribution is very poor, and the publication record is very poor. The Western countries, the researchers are the main or the key players for discovery and innovation, and also marketable products. But here in Africa, the research is poor, and most of the staff are engaged in teaching, the administrative duties. So research is very poor, and you can see the African economy is not knowledge-based. It is based on the primary commodities, products. Even we export it, we don't add value. They don't give us a good revenue.
He believes that with more support and funding, research could result into more products on the market that can replace imports, including drugs, diagnostics, and vaccines.
I'd say the government has to commit in investing in research and development, and then specifically in areas where are most important, and a lot of foreign currency on drugs and vaccines and diagnostics. So the government involvement is very important.
Dr. Balette says relying on foreign aid to support research is not sustainable. But if governments could invest in research and development, then Africa would begin to see her own products, and the continent would truly become a knowledge economy. Dr. Yemtu Bizanash says what CDT Africa needs now is more resources to set up a truly world-class innovation facility to serve the region in the discovery and development of much-needed drugs, vaccines, and diagnostics.
Alô? Som 2. Testando. Microfone. Som. Som. Testando. Microfone. Som dois. Alô, som. Alô, som. Nelpi. Nelpi. Nelson. Nelson. Som.
Bom dia a todos. Bom dia. Bom dia. I'm greeting in Portuguese. Bom dia. I would like to invite all the participants to take their seats, please. From this point, I would like to thank all of you for your participation in the opening session, which was very important to the government of Mozambique to show the commitment of all the countries in this project. I would like to invite Professor Gulam, who is going to lead the sessions from this point. Professor Gulam is the chairperson of the Regional Steering Committee of the ACE project. Thank you, Professor Gulam.
Thank you very much indeed. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, these sessions, which are country sessions, are very important because, as you know, we're coming to the end of the project now, and we want to have an overall picture of what is happening in each country with the ACEs. That was the objective. If you read the comment, if you've got a copy of the program and you read the comment, this is how it reads. Share country reports to deliberate on major outcomes of the project, demonstrate this contribution of the project to higher goals of the country and the region, and take stock of key lessons with a view of informing future programs. So it's really looking at it very holistically. And it has to be very interactive, but at the same time, we need to get an overall background. And the general idea is that for each country, it's the member on the regional steering committee who will make the presentation for all the ACEs in that particular country. And the RSC member, I presume, has already contacted the ACEs to make sure that they get the feedback to be able to do the presentation. Okay? So if you look at the program, has the program been distributed? Yes. Huh? There are copies on the table. If you look, there will be a copy of the program. This copy. Malawi. Malawi. Anyway, we'll do it later on. Yeah. Right. So according to the program, and we'll try to stick to time if possible, the first country that goes forward is Ethiopia. And there are, as you know, 4 ACEs in Ethiopia. And just by way of introduction, the presentation is going to be done by Dr. Eba, who is representing Ethiopia on the Regional Steering Committee. But I think it's important for everybody to know who is present from Ethiopia. So the 4 ACEs from Ethiopia, can I just ask you to stand up? First of all, Climate SABC. Who's representing Climate SABC from Ethiopia? They are there, are they? Climate SABC. Can you just stand up, please? So people see you. Just stand up, people see you. This is Climate SABC. Thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution. No, you just stand up so that we see you. And please do contribute during the discussion if there are any points to be made. The second one is on ACE for Water Management, ACE-WM, Ethiopia. Oh, the 2 of you are here. Very good. The third one is African Railway Center, ARCP. Okay, yes, they're there. Thank you very much. And the fourth one is CDT Africa, Center for Innovative Drug and Therapeutic Trials. You're the only one over there. Never mind. It's the quality that's important. Good. So the 4 ACEs globally will be presented by Dr. Eba. So he'll make a presentation on the 4 ACEs, and we won't discuss this now. We'll have a second presentation, country representation. It will be Malawi because Kenya The representative on RSC from Kenya has not come, he's coming tomorrow. So on the program, you'll see Kenya mentioned, but it will be Malawi who will be talking. And then we'll have, before lunch, half an hour of question and answer. And this is open to everybody. If you find anything that you would like to question, you would like to say, oh, we have learned from this and this could be beneficial to you, and so on. This is the time to do it. Okay? Right, Dr. Iban, carry on. Yeah, yeah. They're doing it now? Who's the technical man?
Good morning. So I'll be talking about the AC2 project's achievements in Ethiopia. So as you see, Professor already introduced our ACs. The first AC is African Railway Engineering Center. We have CDT Africa. We have water management. And again, these are the 4 centers that we have, and the other one is climate resilient agriculture. Okay. So my talk will be guided according to these contents. The first one is introduction, project context, theory of change, major outcomes, and contribution, key lessons, and summary. So I will be very brief. Sorry. Yeah, as you can see here, what I wanted to mention is these centers are aligned with the SDG goals, and all the activities are aligned with that. And again, we have the 10 years plan, and there is Agenda 2063. And again, we have also the roadmap, the education and the training roadmap. And the other one is we have the education policy. All the activities which are indicated in the AC2s are related with all these national, international, and regional agenda. So next, so as indicated before by Dr. Jonathan too, these African Center of Excellences were aimed to meet and exceed international standards and also to attract best young African talents and educate them at master's and PhD levels. So that is what these centers have done. And by doing so, they also were collaborating with different institutions in the country as well as out of the country to contribute to the very aim of the project. Next slide. So next slide, please. If we look at the project context, we have to look at the global as context, the regional context, and the national context. So our centers of excellence focus on health, climate change, and transportation, especially railway, and also water. Therefore, these are very critical in the world, in the region, and in the country too. They are very critical issues, so they were properly designed projects and activities. If we look at, for example, in the case of railway, of course, we have lots of examples in all cases. Railways or rails move 4.8 million passengers every day across the world. And by doing so, they reduce the road congestion, and at the same time also they create environmental benefits. They have environmental benefits. They contribute to low carbon emission. How? If you look at this figure, greenhouse gas emissions by transport mode, here, if we look at the top one, cars and the taxis have this kind of impact. 70.3 million tons of carbon is, affected by cars and taxis. And if we look at aviation, 35.5. If we look at the next one, HGVs, 20.3 million tons, and the rail only has this kind of effect, 2 million tons. So that is why railway is much preferred than other sorts of transport, and it is in attention too across the world as well as in our region. Next. So if we look at these, what are the impacts that are expected from the activities? Homegrown solution for the Ethiopian and other African regions that contribute to social as well as economic development challenges. And the next one is reduction in skills shortage, as we indicated before. So this is the impact that is expected. So what are the major? Go ahead, please. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide again. Next. Yeah, if we look at this, the major outcomes are: one, skilled human power production. In this case, we have introduced new programs in different specializations, which is very important. And we didn't have before postdoctoral programs, but because of these African Center of Excellence, we are having a postdoctoral program. And again, in some specialties, we didn't have PhDs, but these days we are having and even contributing a lot to the region as well as to the country. So we are receiving students from 20 countries. So that is regional collaboration is also very high and very important here. If we look at this table, if you look at this table here, in case of PhD, CDT Africa had 49 students. 4 are from the region
and 11 of them are female students. And if you look at African Center of Excellence for Water Management, 69 PhD students were there. Out of these, 15 were regional students and 14 females. And if you look at climate, 59 students were in PhD, and out of these, 15 were from the region, and 15 students were females. And if we look at, again, railway, 26 PhD we had, and from these 2 PhDs were from the region, and 6 females were there. In total, we had 203 PhDs. We contribute to the region as well as to the country, 203 PhDs. And out of these, 36 students, PhD students were from the region, and 46 were female students. So this is a great achievement and a success as we observe from there. The master's program, if we look at, I will look at only the total. Here we contributed 734 master's students, and out of these, 192 were from the region and 287 were females. This is a great contribution as well. And the next one is the short courses. In the case of the short courses, we have, don't go, please. Back. Yeah. The short courses, in the case of the short courses, 1,630 students participated in short courses. Out of these, 271 are from the region and 527 were females. So this is a great achievement that African Center of Excellence projects in Ethiopia contributed to the regional as well as to the national development. Next slide. Just, I wanted to show you what kind of gap was there in our PhD training, especially if you look at the different years given there. The admission of the number of students were low, plus the major problems were there also, they couldn't finish in time. Very low completion rates. What were the reasons? The reasons were here: lack of adequate infrastructure and the facility, shortage of financial support. There are lots of problems there. But all these problems were addressed by African Center of Excellence projects somehow. And, you know, students are really working as per their pace these days. So in general, I could say these centers contributed to the excellence in teaching and learning, where we produced quite a large number of master's students, PhD students, and again, we were able to give short-term courses. Next, the next achievement was improved partnerships and exchange. This was, again, another important element that we are going to look at. Their improved collaborations and the partnerships were there, at national, regional, and international level. And this contributed to the visibility of our institutions. Therefore, we can look at the figures there. Partnerships, CDT Africa had 27, and water management 17, climate 12, and railway 17. Altogether, we had 73 partnerships from the region in Ethiopia as well as across internationally. The exchanges we had altogether were 746 exchanges. This is again a great contribution that we could observe from the projects. Yeah. The next one is improved quality programs. In this case, again, internationalization of programs started because we started also to accredit our programs nationally and internationally. This is a new practice in Ethiopia. We didn't try even before. So it is because of African Center of Excellence project that we started this kind of thing. If you look at the table, regional accreditation, we don't have that yet. and international accreditation, we have 8 programs which were done by African Center of Excellence for Water Management, and the others are in progress, of course. And the national 22 programs were accredited and approved. So this is again a new practice that we started because of African Center of Excellence projects. The other contribution or achievement is improved in quality. Sorry, continue. Next slide, please. Sorry. And one slide is not displaying here. 4D. Could you display 4D, please? One slide. Back. Back again. Yeah, I wanted to show about this. So in this case, we have improved the research outputs and the consultancy services. In this case, here we have publications. African Center of Excellence, CDT, had 505 publications. In the case of water management, we had 285. And in the case of climate, we had 100. And in the case of railway, we had 265. Altogether, 1,155 publications internationally. So this is, again, a really great achievement. We also had some patents, new products and the patents. So these were the next. The next one is improved infrastructure and facilities. In this case, again, here, you know, Ethiopia has, there is a railway from Addis to Djibouti. So this is, of course, Ethiopia is modernizing this project and working in a different way these days. So our center is contributing to this to sustain the project and to strengthen the project. So such national initiatives, such national grand initiatives need support, and they have to be sustained because of African Center of Excellence. I am sure they will contribute to this and sustain the project too. And the other one is the next one. We have also some light railways projects in Ethiopia, in Addis. So these projects need, again, to be sustained when they get support from African Center of Excellence. So our experts from the center are supporting in consultancy services, in training, 2 different human power in this project. Next, please. So the outcomes, when we look at the contribution of these outcomes, the significance of these outcomes to the region as well as to the country, we can look at the different agenda which were identified by African leaders. So in this case, especially the African Center of Excellence for Railway is, you know, aligning its contribution to this thing, to connect all African capitals and commercial centers through an African high-speed train network, thereby facilitating the movement of goods, factor services, and people. So the center is contributing and working very hard to the attainment of Agenda 2063-2. Next. So in general, we had enhanced teaching and research facilities because of this project. And we also established different teaching and research labs, infrastructure, and ICT infrastructure for virtual teaching or e-learning, and smart classrooms and video conferencing rooms. These are the projects, the facilities which have come because of this African Center of Excellence project. And also high-tech laboratories, books, high-performing computers, and different hubs were established because of this project. So the contribution of this project is very high. Next. So if we look at this one, there are improved practices. So there are different practices, of course, in the case of climate change, You know, our country is working very hard in this area. The next slide. There are grand and national initiatives. Next, national initiatives. For example, Ethiopia has planted around 25 million trees during the first Green Legacy from 2019 to 2022. And again, this year, again, the country planted over 566 million trees in a day. Therefore, such initiatives, such national initiatives needs support. They have to be sustained. So the African Center of Excellence for Climate has a great contribution here. The next one is improved beneficiaries. In this case, you know, the centers contributed to different beneficiaries here. African Center of Excellence, CDT Africa, contributed to 1,019 beneficiaries, and the water management 825, and the climate contributed to 567, and in the case of railway, 703. Altogether, 3,114 beneficiaries are there from our projects. And if we look at the females, you can look at the females, 40%, 30%, 24%, 22%. Overall, on average, we contributed to 29% of females. So this is, again, a great contribution. And the next one is, the next one is improved capacity in revenue generation. Here, CDT Africa had 17 million in USD, and African Center of Excellence for Water Management, 977,000, and the climate, 3.9 million, and African Center of Excellence for Railway, 1.2 million. Altogether, we contributed or collected 23.2 million USD from revenue generation. So this is, again, another initiative and a great contribution. So we are very happy to have these centers. So in general, the contribution of these projects to the region as well as to the country, the contributions are very large and very big. So if you look at the 10 years plan, there we have, and also African 2063 agenda. We have also the homegrown economic reform agenda, which is also very critical. Next slide. So the centers contributed to the attainment of these objectives. Let me very rapidly look at the higher goals of the country. There are 6 strategic pillars that we have. The first one is to ensure growth. The next one is to improve productivity and the competitiveness. And the other one is to undertake institutional transformation. And the next one is to ensure private sector's leadership in economy and to ensure equitable participation of women and children. And the last one is to build a climate resilient green economy. So all we have been talking are very much related to these pillars, this economic reform agenda of the country, and to the 10-year plan. And they are also very much related to higher goals of the region, that is Agenda 2063. If you look at this, for example, aspiration 1 is a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. Here, a high standard of living and quality of life, sound health and well-being, well-educated and skilled citizens, underpinned by science, technology, and innovation for knowledge society. So the 4 centers are related to these issues which are identified, and the training of human power in the short-term program, in the master's and in the PhD have contributed to these high-level goals. Next. So the same issue is coming here. Totally what I want to say is well-educated and skilled citizen underpinned by source. This is the same. Okay, next, please. Next slide. Yeah, if you look at here, by 2063, African countries will be amongst the best performers in global quality life measures. This will be attained through strategies of inclusive growth, job creation, increasing agricultural production, investments in science, technology, research, and innovation, gender equity, youth empowerment, and the provision of basic services, including health, nutrition, education, shelter, water, and sanitation. All our 4 centers are very much related to this and what they have been doing, their trainings, their researches, and all these have contributed to the region's priority agenda. Okay, next, please. Next. Next. Yeah, key lessons with the view of informing the future programs. The key lessons are: number 1, we learned a lot about project management, which is very important. That is a lesson for us. And especially result-based efficiency and result-based monitoring and evaluation. This is the big lesson that we learned from the project. So we can be efficient. We are able to manage our programs in efficient and effective way. The next one is skill demand power for industry. As you tried to see from my table, the presentation I made before. So we contributed a lot to the industry, and that is, please back, 1 slide back. No, 1 slide back. Yeah. And the next one is expanded partnership. We had quite a large number of partnerships in the region, nationally, and again, internationally. This is again another lesson that we learned. The accreditation of programs, as I mentioned before, this is a new culture in Ethiopian higher education institutions. Therefore, this is again another lesson that we can take from it. And leadership commitments. If leaders are committed, projects can be accomplished. If there is proper monitoring and evaluation, it is not very difficult to accomplish or to attain the objectives. That is also what we learned. And the capacity to generate revenue, we are able to generate up to 23 million USD. That is a big success on our side. So next, the last one is a summary. So in general, the result-oriented culture of work has been established in the country, and the transfer of knowledge and the skills to sustain, manage projects, and capacity development. New areas of programs were launched, and the projects helped us to be creative and innovative. So we want to continue with the momentum. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Eba, especially for sticking to time. It's exactly 11:30. You've managed it very well. Thank you very much. Very, very compact, very useful. One area we can consider when we have question and answer is what challenges have the ACEs met? What would you do differently if you have to start all over again? What is it that you would do differently, and so on? We must look at the very, very positive, and it is very positive, but also if you're going to move ahead into other areas, what are the challenges that you face that could be overcome? And what elements would you suggest we take into account when next formulating other ACEs? Right, we'll come to the discussion later on. At the moment, we move on to the second country, On your program, you will see Kenya is mentioned, but unfortunately, Paul Mungai is not the representative of Kenya on the Regional Steering Committee. Hasn't arrived yet. He's coming tomorrow, I understand. So we'll find a slot for him to present tomorrow. So the next one is Malawi. And you're presenting for Malawi? You're presenting Malawi. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So we have a presentation for Malawi, and the presenter will present himself. But for Malawi, we have two centers. Let me just check if they are here and how strong are they. First of all, Aquafish. Can you stand up, please? Yes, two Aquafish. And the other one is ASFM, Public Health and Herbal Medicine. Three of you. Very good. Welcome. Right. So I'll leave it to the presenter for presenting the Malawi. Again, try and limit yourself to half an hour if possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I will try to do less than 30 minutes actually. Please assist with getting the presentation up. My name is Anwar Musa, and I work for the Ministry of Finance in Malawi, and we have a seat on the National Steering Committee for this project. So next slide, please. So this will be the outline for the presentation today. I'll briefly talk about ACES in Malawi. As you probably heard in the morning, we had a parent project and we had an additional financing. So I'll give a brief background on that. And then I'll go ahead and talk about the major outcomes from particularly the parent project. And then talk about lessons for future ACES and of course, issues of sustainability. Next slide, please. So, like many other countries, we had a problem. The problem was an issue of human capital development. There was a gap. So our goal was to try to address the gap in human capital development and of course, innovation in science and technology, of course, particularly through graduate training. This is also a key to the achievement of the Malawi Agenda 2063. Then we went ahead, of course, through a competitive process to obtain a loan from the World Bank, about $12 million for the parent project. The project became effective on October 4, 2016. And we established 2 centers of excellence. 2 priority areas were chosen, health and agriculture. In health, we established the African Center of Excellence in Public Health and Herbal Medicine, in short called ASFM. This is hosted in the University, Kamuzu University of Health Sciences. And of course, in the agriculture sector, we established the Aquaculture and Fisheries Science Center of Excellence, in short, Aquafish. And this is hosted at Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources. So far, as we speak, overall disbursement to these 2 centers is about 89%, with actually one of the centers, Aquafish, having exhausted all the resources, 100% absorption. Next slide, please. Then, of course, I said, we got an additional financing. As you heard this morning, our colleagues, the hosts, the Mozambicans also got some money, and Malawi. So we signed another agreement for $30 million. $10 million was a grant, and $20 million was a loan. This brought the total financing to $42 million and closes on 31st December 2025. With these resources, we added resources to Aquafish and of course created 4 new centers. These are the centers. Of course, all of them under agriculture. So we created, first of all, the African Center of Excellence in Agricultural Policy Analysis, in short, APA. This is also hosted at Luana. And again, the same university, we created another center called the Center of Excellence in Transformative Agricultural Commercialization and Entrepreneurship, TESS. And another center at University of Malawi, the Center of Resilient Agriculture Food Systems, CRAFS. And the last one at the Nzuzu University called the African Center of Excellence in Underutilized and Neglected Biodiversity, ASENOB. Next slide, please. What are the major contributions? We have managed to increase the number of enrollments in master's, PhD, and PhD programs, as well as, of course, short courses, which has led to an impact, a positive impact in the region. I'll give you an example. ASIFM, initially in 2016, they had targeted to produce 52 master's students, but we ended up producing, as we speak, 207 master's students. We didn't do so well on the PhDs. We had targeted 26, but we ended up with 18. We had intended to train 630 people on short courses. We managed to exceed that. We trained 1,381 participants. Again, we go to Aquafish. We had intended to train 200 master's students. We ended up training 363 master's students. We had intended to train 59 PhDs. We had intended to train 45 PhDs, but we have done 59. And we also had intended to train 300 participants on short courses. We did 533. So you would see, apart from ASIFM on the underperformance on PhDs, overall, surpassing our target in 2016. We have capacitated our members of staff in the centers. We have managed to procure high-tech equipment in labs. With this equipment, our centers are able to do cutting-edge research and produce novel research outputs. One example, for example, at the ASFM, which is a Center for Herbal Medicine, they have discovered 2 novel compounds which are currently being further investigated. On the policy side, the project has influenced the development of government policies. For instance, the study that was being undertaken by ASFM has resulted in traditional and complementary medicine policy currently being implemented under the Ministry of Health. Next, please. Can't see. Yeah. Okay, we have also continuing with the achievements. We have also, the project has also influenced international accreditation of our academic programs in Malawi. When the center starts speaking tomorrow, we hear in great detail in terms of the numbers. But here, high level, we have just to indicate that we have increased this accreditation. We have also expanded national and international networks, partnerships, and new collaborations have been forged, including, of course, with the private sector. This is in line with the SADC protocol on education, which calls for collaboration in higher education and training. Just to give examples, Aquafish alone has forged 11 partnerships, including one in the private sector. And of course, the they just recently launched Center of Excellence TESS. Is partnering with a local bank to support with services needed to get an innovation commercialization level. We have also increased research and publications. Currently, the two centers boast at least 300 publications. We have also internationalized university programs. Currently in Malawi, under these two centers, we have students from Namibia, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Democratic Republic of Congo, Uganda, and including the host here, among others. We have increased the memorandum of understandings with regional universities, and of course, the private sector. And of course, we have facilitated faculty and student exchanges and collaborations with both national and international partners, which has led to joint supervision of postgrad students, joint grant application, research projects, among other outcomes. Next, please. On infrastructure side, we have managed through the project to come up with increased office space, as well as come up or construct student accommodation. The picture is not so clear. I apologize for that. But this is at the Aquafish. On the right is what the 3D rendering of what it will become. This is the first phase of the complex under construction. We have also, under ASFM, we managed to procure a house, which is now housing international students. Next slide, please. So, what are the lessons for the future? What we have observed is that we cannot continuously rely on public funds. We need to involve the private sector. For the centers to continue with their work, there's need for collaboration with the private sector. Continuing on that, there has to be research-led and incubation of business ideas. And this should be incorporated at the conceptualization of these projects. This is very key. Thirdly, we need to integrate these centers of excellency in the university or the host university so that we ensure sustainability. One of the centers is already doing it, the Aquafish Center. Again, we also need to emphasize on resource mobilization. I didn't mention it, but for the two centers, over this 6-year period, WANE managed to raise about $3.5 million. But more can be done. We have seen our colleagues in Ethiopia. They have done better on resource mobilization. So we can do better on that. Again, there's also need to invest more in incubation and patents so that innovations in essays are fully developed and commercialized. Currently, one of the centers, Aquafish, is also doing the aquaponics and the biopreservatives. They are doing patents on that. Next slide, please. Next, we also want to say that in the future, We need to leverage on the opportunities that are coming from the ESSES. And there is currently demand on quality and impactful postgraduate education, climate resilient agri-food systems, industrialization in the technologies to grow value chain businesses, leverage on data systems for evidence-based decision-making, leverage on smart technologies for evidence-based practices and agricultural commercialization. And as you see, generally, there is a move from traditional agriculture towards smarter agricultural technologies. We need to embed these in the future projects. Next slide, please. Very important, the issue of sustainability. How do we sustain the ESSES? We wish to propose that, as I said before, that the ESSES have to be integrated in the university systems. Without that, issues of sustainability will become tricky. Resource mobilization is key. And this has to go beyond relying on the public sector and start partnerships with the industry and, of course, potential funders for startups. We also need to commercialize the innovations that are coming from our OSS. And of course, encourage consultant services in the areas where we have specialization. And of course, something that we have seen over time when it comes to national steering committees, we want in the future for sustainability that our national steering committees should be more independent and diversified. So this is the end of our presentation from Malawi. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. In fact, you did it in much shorter period, and that gives us more time to discuss and bring up certain points. Right. First of all, any questions, any queries on the presentations made? And these need not be from the countries themselves. It can be from any other person. It can be from any member of the Regional Steering Committee. Anybody who wishes to make any comment? Yes, we'll go one by one. Let's take three at a time. I've got one here. Anybody else? Any question? No, for the time being, you're the only one. Okay, just your name. We need a roving mic somewhere. I'll give you mine. Just mention your which ACE you're from, your name.
Okay, good morning. My name is Yasu. I'm from Addis Ababa University, CDC Africa. Mine is not really question, but rather comment, which need to be considered. For example, when we think of the ACES achievements, we need to consider the networking which has been made among different ACES. And not only from the same discipline, even from different disciplines, ACES develop the culture of working together for the common goal of the given country. So that should be considered one of the advantages of this achievement. The other thing is postgraduate programs. I mean, postdoc programs. For example, in Addis Ababa University, there was no postdoc program at all. But it's just because of the ACES, it has been introduced currently. So I think that I feel it's one of the big achievements which ACES have developed. Opening opportunities for employment. For example, CDT Africa has got over 100 employees. Had it not been for CDT Africa, mind you, 100 employees wouldn't have had a job. So I think that should also be considered to be an advantage. And also establishing research culture among ACEs. That's really good, you know. Had it not been for the ACEs, research wouldn't have been facilitated so far. So these are my questions. Thank you so much indeed.
Right. Thank you very much indeed. Anybody wants to respond to some of those issues that have been raised? Very interesting issues, if anybody wants to raise anything. For example, postdoctoral. How many have got postdoctoral? Oh, you have. This is a comment or an additional question. Okay.
Okay, my name is Richard Edema. I'm from Masi, Uganda. It's a small question. Each time we look at these impressive numbers that ESA presented, the question that comes in the mind, maybe just to provoke the minds from Malawi and Ethiopia, is when we set those baselines 5 years ago, and you look at it now, did we put it too low then? Or because sometimes when you have a baseline of 0 and anything you do is almost 100%, when we have a baseline so low, anything you do will look impressive, and yet maybe our abilities were higher than the baselines.
Thank you. Would either Ethiopia or Malawi would respond to this, any of these? You couldn't get the question. Working now? We are back? Yeah. So where's oh what he was asking was when we started, we had baseline for MScs, PhDs, and all the rest of it. And in almost all cases, these have been exceeded. So should we have been more ambitious, or if you had to do it again, what would you do?
We were not ambitious because, in different countries, for example, in Ethiopia, the target is 70-30 ratio. 70, when I say 70 for masters and a PhD, 30% in all universities. But at the moment we have, even if we have we have enrollments in these centers of excellence. We have only 12% PhDs in our universities. Therefore, we have to go for other 18%. So even the target is below for me.
Yeah, you mustn't forget, this is a project funded by the World Bank. If you put the target too high, you can't achieve it, you have a problem. You put it too low, you achieve higher, it's positive for you. So I think it's a difficult game to play, I think. There was a question on employment, and I just asked, yes, I'll come to it. I just asked Dr. Eba about the employment while we had lost the mic. And I was told that almost everybody is employed. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much indeed. The question goes to Malawi. Indeed, I enjoyed the presentation, especially where they touched the areas in terms of future work, future plans on the commercialization, industrialization, where they expect to yield some patents and so forth. Now, my concern is that I expected them to at least give us some of those indicators from commercialization and industrialization, like patents, maybe a number of patents. How many patents have you achieved? And from these patents, how far have you gone to commercialize them? Thank you. Malawi, yes.
Where's Malawi? Malawi, where are you?
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted.
No, there was a question to you, wasn't it? It was. So you prefer him to answer than you?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So I was simply going to say that what was being presented was a desire that we're trying to head towards to. So far, the research on biopreservatives was just being recently conducted. And we are trying to see if we can scale it up and maybe get something out of it, and then pursue the patenting processes so that we get to a place where at least we are confident that this product is indeed workable. But the biopreservation issue was from a perspective of a problem that we have in fish preservation, using cheap and local resources, and they're using an acidic compound that helps work that out. Thank you. Yeah, and as well as technology transfers, yes.
Okay, and I think there was another one on, of course, Ethiopia attempted to respond, the issue of setting the baseline too low, so that I think it's obvious that you overachieve. I think from Malawi, we were ambitious. As a matter of fact, you remember there was COVID. Some of the targets had to be revised downwards. But I think the team was so vigilant to the extent that they actually even managed to even beat the original set target. So people capitalized on the available resources. People were able to do, for example, virtual meetings, to do collaboration virtually, to be able to achieve some of the things. So people learned to live with COVID after some time. Thank you.
What's the employment situation now? I got the news from Dr. Eba. I asked him, we didn't have the mic, about employment, and he said most of the postgraduates were employed already. So the issue of employment is not a major issue as far as Ethiopia is concerned. Any issue of employment of the masters and PhDs in Malawi?
Okay, thank you. I just want to add, most of the students that come at the master or PhD level in Malawi, most of them, like PhD, they are lecturers from different institutions.
Okay.
In Africa, So automatically, they are already employed. So when they are coming, we're just building up capacity, and after graduating, we take them back into their institutions.
Okay.
But for those that are doing masters, immediately they finish, the throughput level of employment is almost very high. That is our problem. Even if we give them like scholarships, during the research, we actually even struggle with the student, beg them to finish because they are marketable already. Employers need them. So
This is the masters.
masters, yeah. So we can actually say that in terms of employability, our students are actually doing very good.
Okay, that's very good news. Any other country has an issue of employment? Ethiopia, apparently no problem. Malawi, apparently no problem. Any other country have noticed that there is a problem of employment? You can pick it up perhaps later on when you present, when your own country is presented. Okay, any other question? Yes, yes, Jonathan. Take my mic.
I have a very basic question for sustainability. And I want an answer from center leaders. What will happen to the center come December 31st or January 1st, 2024, in terms of staffing, in terms of students, in terms of programs, in terms of research projects that are under the centers? In January 2024, what will happen? I'm asking Malawi and Ethiopia to respond to these questions.
Yeah. Ethiopia.
Yeah, that's this is very good question actually. So we are very much confident that these centers will continue after the end of the project. Of course, we need more. We need to generate resources. Okay, we have learned a lot through this SE2 project, and we think that we have a plan, strategic plan, to how to make these centers continue after phase out of this project, and we hope that the World Bank funding will continue with some more new ideas. So that's our expectation. Thank you very much.
Okay, there is no continuation. I think it should be clear. The World Bank has made it clear there is no continuation of the same project. Another project can come in, yes, but not the same project. Right, Malawi, yes. Malawi? Yeah.
Yeah, for us, activities will continue because we have some complementary grants that we've got, but obviously it's not at the level of the bank funding. So we'll have to scale down some of our activities, such as, bringing in international students whom we are giving stipends and paying tuition. We'll now concentrate on people who are able to pay tuition on their own, and then we can support them on other activities like research funds, etc., etc. But of course, it will affect us, but we'll still continue because we've got some funding from other grants, some of them directly to activities which we're doing, but others not really in direct activities that we are doing, but we'll continue with the activities. I'm speaking on behalf of WASFM, but for our colleagues in Aquafish, they got additional funding, so they are good.
Thank you. This is George Award from Kenya. Egerton University. My question, I want to twist Jonathan's question. Sorry, Jonathan. You're asking about sustainability, but I would like to twist that question back to the ministries or the government. As much as the centers have been trying to work on sustainability avenues, writing proposals for sustainability, innovations for sustainability, I would like to hear from the government's ministries that are presented here. What are their plans for sustaining these centers going forward?
Good point. Good point. I think, does it work? Does this work? I think we need to unpack this word sustainability. What does it mean? Because I've heard somewhere it's been integrated within the university. I'm not so sure what that means. And you mentioned sustainability. Let's start with you. What do you mean by sustainability? What do you expect the sustainability to be?
Thank you, Professor Gulan. You have put it back to me. I just mentioned a few of them. Sustainability is owning up and moving on with these nice and successful initiatives beyond the support that IDA is giving. That's what I mean. But I'm saying going beyond, owning it up, okay? It becomes your good practice and going beyond what you have been supported with. And that means you go across academics, students will be there. You'll do more innovations and commercialization, but also you do more collaborations, even beyond the collaboration. That's what I mean, I believe by it. But the government, let me talk about not government, the university is owning up these centers and being part and parcel of the university's structures. But I asked the question about what is the government doing about that?
Okay. Anybody wants to respond to that? Do we have anybody from government? I don't know. I really don't know. We do? Well, of course, the RSCs. All of them are government. Okay. You guys, government, what do you think? Sustainability? Dr. Eba.
I'm not specifically going to answer, but what we are going to do probably is, of course, we have been talking about it. When we talk about sustainability, two important things must be in place. The first one is institutional capacity. The second one is financial capacity. So when I say institutional capacity, the experience must be there, physical infrastructure must be there, and all different things must be there. So in the case of physical infrastructure, I am 100% sure that we have some facilities. We have laboratories, we have all the experiences. We also have managed to have different collaborations internally as well as externally. Therefore, these all experiences that have gained help in sustaining the projects. That is one thing. In the case of financial sustainability, there are some amount of money which were generated from international or national or regional revenues. So that could help also in somehow. And we have to really, I'm talking not only in the case of Ethiopia, but for all centers, we have to understand which area is very critical, which area we are able to manage. So after identifying all this, I'm sure by writing proposals for different activities, which we have not yet managed to really, get some kind of support, we have to work on that, and then we must sustain it because the experience is there, the collaboration is there, the partnership is there, the resources that we are able to mobilize are all there. Therefore, we have the capacity to continue. That is what I would like to say, Dr. Jonathan.
Okay? Yes. Can you pass the mic there? Hold the mic, yes. This is sustainability from the point of view of Malawi.
Yes, so as you heard before, I'm from the Ministry of Finance, Malawi. So say that I think the question that came from Kenya, Egerton University, it's a question that government was supposed to be asking the centers. We have gone out there to borrow money in some instances to obtain grants to give you centers as a big push. Through this big push, you establish partnerships, you will, you patent your ideas, you do all sorts of things. So you start generating your own resources. I think personally, coming from Minister of Finance, it's practically impossible that governments will keep on pumping money to the centers. At some point, these centers will have to stand on their 2 feet. And that's why I said going into the future, the issue of sustainability has to be embedded way from the beginning when we were conceptualizing our centers, without which things will fail. So I would say, I think that question was supposed to come government to the centers. How are we going to sustain this money that we're borrowing for you or getting from our partners? Thank you.
Okay. Good point of view. Any other? Yes.
Thank you very much indeed. Jonathan, maybe I'll start with the difference with Jonathan. You remember when you were in Bujumbura? Yeah, in Bujumbura, the question of sustainability was discussed at length. Now, the way I see it, the way it is answered here, I don't know whether we are practical or not. There are two strands here, the centers and the government. I thought maybe the centers were supposed to answer it the way we discussed in Bujumbura. What activities are you going to do as a center which will generate money to sustain your center after the World Bank? That was the question. What activities we are going to do? This activity is going to generate the money and sustain the centers. I thought we are supposed to answer on those lines rather than on the theoretical. Also the government. What measures are you going to take to ensure that these centers are supported, e.g. financially? I thought that's where we are supposed to dwell at. I remember one center, the Vice Chancellor stood and mentioned that we are doing this. This is going to be commercialized. After commercialized, it's going to raise money. And that's the money which is going to be used to sustain the centers. I thought we are supposed to dwell on that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other contribution, a comment, a question? Yeah.
For me, I'm really glad that the issue of sustainability keeps coming. For the last, I think 3 or so TAMs, it's a question that has never left space, and which is good. The worst thing would have been if we just come here and we have all these parties and we close this thing and everybody's happy going away. I'm also glad that the question of sustainability is being asked by literally everybody. The centers are asking for it. IUCA, Jonathan is asking for it. I guess the World Bank is asking for it, but they're normally very clever. They don't want to show. They keep quiet and watch. And ministries are asking for it. We have been demonstrating that these centers are not the usual projects that just come and fade and go. They came here and made their mark. The numbers are here. Everybody has seen it. The issue of how to sustain may be a difficult issue at the moment, because it cannot just be a question of the World Bank alone putting another phase like that, because that will be an extension. That is not the definition of sustainability. I think the definition of sustainability should be that somehow in the longer term, several things need to happen to make these centers more resilient, more needed, more productive, and being able to change the continent the way it was envisaged. I think that's where the beginning of the discussion of which measures need to be put in place should start, because there's so many things government can do to make the centers survive even one more day after January 1st. If they so wish, they're here, they're listening. Somebody might just go home and just write a check the following day and we'll survive. So let them go think over these things, where the additional pot of money is, and we start. Whether the centers can continue generating revenue on their own right proposals, that ability has been created, is being strengthened within the centers themselves right now, because they're writing proposals and they're getting money. But it might not be enough for the kind of volume of work that is required. I don't know how many centers reached over 6 million of funds generated on their own. And yet the demand might be a 20 million per year kind of project to do the things we want to do. So I think let's keep having this debate. It is healthy, it is good. I can list so many things that can be done, but it is not a one-sided center alone. I think it is all of us who need to sit together and come with a plan to sustain the centers.
Right. The only problem is it's too late. I think the project is ending now. So I think Jonathan's question was what happened as from 1st January 2024, because the thing ends in December 2023. That was the question. And if there's been no plan as far as the students concerned, as far as the project's concerned, about everything else, then there is a problem. What happens? Yeah. I think we've got a glimmer of hope over there.
Thank you very much. I think what's happened after January 2024, in my opinion, all these centers will be there. That's number one. We need to look at sustainability beyond finances, because of course we need money to do things. But as my colleague here who sits in the money field says, we gave you some money and there's the resources. So all these centers have developed capacities that were not there before. And I think the numbers has been presented quite clearly. And there is capacity for us to extend what we have been doing beyond 2023. And I believe all the center leaders who are here have that resources. It's not about money. What human capital have you put in place since the start of the centers until now? There is opportunity to utilize that. How can government enhance that? It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go and get money. You may need to put in structures in place to support initiative that has been developed. If we want to look at sustainability, then we need to go back and check what were the project development objectives. I think presentation from Jonathan and earlier before, we tick a lot of boxes there. So we cannot just say, okay, January 2024, there's no centers. So these are for me, that's the way we can look at it. Of course, money is important, but let us reflect on how we have been doing things and how can we optimize it going forward. Thank you.
Okay, very good point and encouraging.
Yeah, and
then we've got another one.
And just to add, to continue the conversation, like now in the implementation arrangement, if we are to have like a good feasible indicators of sustainability can be actually initiated and set at the time when the centers are actually implementing the projects. But most of the time, we need to have like an addendum point where the centers can be given a leverage to readjust so that they can save some money, which they can reinvest into an entity which can generate revenue, so that that particular revenue could be reflected back into the centers as sustainable options. Because in that way, we are going to be win off from government support. The centers could now stand on their own, either selling whatever they are producing as patented products or whatever technology transfers that they can put afloat, and they continue even bringing in some initiatives through academia, which can actually leave the test of time. But most of the time, when that can be floated to the bank, they actually say, you cannot twist anything. You're going to implement this the Bible way it has been presented. That creates a problem. I submit.
Yeah. Very. After that, I'll get back.
Thank you very much. I'm part of the new ACES. Part of this being discussed now is part of what worries us a bit. Actually, I would like to put a question. From those ones which are closing now, if you have a PhD students, for example, that are not going to finish, will you be able to pay scholarship for them to continue? That's the question. From what I know, from in most universities and countries, sometimes there's a challenges in terms of having money, money to pay scholarship, when normally the scholarship are being paid by, let's say, projects like this. It becomes difficult to continue doing this payment. So that's why I'm posing that question. Are you able to continue paying the scholarship to ensure that the students are going to finish, let's say, in end of 2024, or sometimes some of them, they can go until 2025? Because this is really a big concern. Thank you.
Right. Question, yes.
Thank you very much. I stand here to argue a little bit on my previous presenter who said money is not very, very important. What I'm thinking here ahead is that we are arguing on issues of sustainability on the way forward, how these projects will be sustained or maintained. I think I still go back to the government's responsibility, because I feel that when projects there, the government have what you call, in my country, Zambia, we have the Ministry of Finance or Planning and Development, the budgeting, because I don't know how many countries who probably now even budgeting research issues in the national planning. All what we do depends on the funders, on the project development. I think this is the way going forward for Africa. We need the government to be at the forefront so that at least in our planning, when we present the budget to the parliament or wherever, there must be that actually an option and a kind of an opportunity to have that budget of research or training or whatever we can do to sustain similarly to these SA projects, because much of them, we depend on the donors. It's high time Africa, we should move away from the donor driven. We should think ourselves, the government should come up with the budgets so that supports our projects. Thank you very much. That was just a general comment.
Okay, thank you. The back there.
Thank you. Gervenda Isaiah. Let us ask this question. Are centers part of the university or not? If yes, how do we sustain other courses? Why not can't we sustain centers? If we start new programs, after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, those programs are sustainable. Why not centers? So it becomes to think, how do we sustain other programs? Why can't we sustain centers? Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? Any comment? There was one, yes, okay.
Thank you, Prof. Actually, my concern actually goes to the universities hosting the centers, to the government, and probably a little bit to the World Bank as well. I don't know if they can do something after December 31st. There are centers, which are currently getting disbursement from the World Bank, and because, the last verification was done in the recent past, and some amount of money is just yet to come. And I'm wondering, how are we going to use that money? By the way, when we look at these centers, they are slightly different from the programs that we run in the university. They have staff, support staff, for which, the payment structure and so on are different. And unless some alignment and adjustments are made, the centers are going to suffer, as far as I'm concerned and as far as I understand. So, I mean, universities should put, a bit of structure. And again, the government should allow even to use, the money that is yet available after, the closure of the project. And it really needs, discussion and direction during the steering committee and the ministers and the government. So that is actually where we really need to discuss and come up with ways. Like I thought there is some grace period after December itself, and probably you could do something within that grace period. And what is going to happen even beyond the grace period, and that really needs discussion.
Thank you, bringing us back to reality. There is the issue of, I'm not so sure what happens in the different countries. Yes, I'm going to give you, who asked for, you. Yeah. The question of what happens to the registered MSc and PhD students. I think that was one issue that Jonathan was concerned about. Every project is important. A research project is important. Innovation, everything is important. But there's a legal issue here with the registered masters and PhD students. If the project ends and you don't have the money to continue the scholarship or whatever it is, what happens then? I don't know the answer. I'm just asking the question. And I think that's the sort of question, I think that's the sort of issue Jonathan raised. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Charles Ruranga. I'm from the Center of Data Science, University of Rwanda. For the sustainability, I have some comment, but what I think can be done for the SCs. Yeah, when you come back to the centers of excellence, the centers, as they said, they received the money for the establishment, and the performance clearly showed that almost all the centers have achieved very significant results. But when you come to the sustainability, the centers are in some countries, they are part of the universities, like any school or center. They can be sustainable, but we need to think on the sustainability we want after the December, because you can see the statistics, number of masters and the PhD from region, from female. So sometimes can be explained by the support they have been receiving. When that support will not be there, I'm not really sure the center will be working like what do we have. Will remain as the centers of excellence. Well, I don't want to say that the centers of excellence are at a higher level in comparison to other units within the university, but there is a difference. If the support the centers are getting is not there, they can be working like other units within the university, but the performance presented, the number of students from the region, female and so on, I'm not really sure that it can remain the same. What I can say as a suggestion for now, the centers of excellence has been there for this 5 or 6 years, and the performance are very interesting for all the countries. But I think in order to be sustainable and remain at the level where the centers are, there is a need of having additional support either from the government, from other funders. Otherwise, they can remain and be there like other units with the university, but not really at the same level where we are today.
Okay, okay. Right, colleagues, we've got to bring this to an end. I see it's already 12:30. We've only discussed 2 countries. There are more countries to come in the afternoon and also tomorrow. So there's plenty of opportunity for us to bring up the issues again. You can discuss among yourselves. Sorry, you have a, yes, please. Yes, okay. We have a question online. Can you mention who it is addressed to? I forgot that we're online. I think we need to give priority to online as well. You can't just, lunch can wait for a few minutes. After that, Jonathan, I'll ask you to give logistical arrangements. What do we do for lunch and all the rest of it? Or whoever it is going to make an announcement. Okay? Is it you or is it, what happens afterwards? Who is going to make an announcement for where do we have lunch, whether we have tickets or whatever it is? Who does that? While they're connecting online, maybe you can sort this one out. We'll make an announcement. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Just a minute. Online, is it coming? So we can carry on. You interrupt us when you've got the question. Right, let's carry on.
So you're done.
I'm not done yet. I'm waiting for the question online, but we can't waste time. So if you can give the information, in the meantime, he's connecting.
Thank you. Lunch will be served on the first floor. Once you go to the reception, there is the elevator, take to the first floor, and then you move to your extreme end on the other side. Yeah. No coupons.
Do you need any ticket or anything, or this is enough?
No, this is enough.
Okay. And we come back at the, yeah, bring your tag with you. How is the online question coming? Can we save it for the next session? Just note it down and then we take it up for the next session.
Ben, can you hear me? Malshri here.
Yeah, Malshri wants to ask a question. Okay.
No, Professor Ghulam. Actually, Biruk had a question.
Yes, Malshri, carry on.
Professor Biruk had a question, but I can't reach to him. So maybe we'll wait for the next session.
So I can quickly come in if you hear me.
Sure, yeah, Biruk, we hear you. Thank you.
Yeah. That information, you may have heard already that none of the World Bank staff outside,
Thank you so much, Dr. Jonathan. So
Africa could
I
make
will
it because of
I
lack
will
of
ask
funds.
my second
They
question
could not
to
travel.
Dr.
It's not
Eba.
that they did not
So
want to
thank you for
travel.
the presentation. It was
They
really very
wanted
good.
to come. Moultrie is a very
My
regular one.
question
Roberta
is
wanted to
in
come,
light of the
but apparently higher authorities have
university
decided
reform programs
can't
that is
use the money
currently
for travel.
underway in Ethiopia.
It's unfortunate
What is the
because
thinking
it's one of the
behind the
last
Ministry of
final meetings we're
Finance
having together,
for
and these people have been
additional
involved
centers
right
of
through.
excellence,
So it is
especially now
wonderful to
that
have
our universities are going to be autonomous? The
isn't it?
center of excellence model is very pertinent, I think. So while thinking of
Jonathan, we call it
sustainability
a
for
day.
our centers, Ethiopia, as you know, is a huge country with over 100 million people. I do think the need to expand the project in any format. So what is the ministry actually doing in that regard? This is my question. Thank you. Over to you.
Actually, we're supposed to carry on till 1 o'clock. Yeah. When I look at the timetable now, Malawi finished fairly shortly, so we have time in case anybody wants any question. But I'm sure everybody's tired. I am tired.
Can you hear us? Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, sorry, in the room I got disconnected. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Sure, no problem. Maybe we can continue in the next session. Has the room left for lunch already?
No, we've been in the room. We're about to leave for lunch.
Okay.
You look, here's the question. I had it online, but in the room they can't hear.
Oh,
But when
okay.
they speak from the room, you can hear them. So I'm sorry for that inconvenience.
Okay, no problem. Is this Ben I'm speaking to?
Yes, Mushari, this is Ben speaking.
Oh, hi, Ben. Thank you so much. Yeah. So we can continue in the next session. Yeah, I could hear both Professor Ghulam and Biruk at the same time. So
Yes, sorry for that. We'll continue in the after session.
Mulshri.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, Biruk. Yes.
Sorry, Mulshri. I thought the issue was with my connection.
Sorry?
Was the issue with my connection, or I was not able? They were
No.
not able to hear me in the room.
Yeah, they were not able to hear you in the room because there were some issues with the audio. So maybe you can pose your question in the next session once they're back from lunch.
Thanks. I just dropped a message. Maybe if
Oh, okay.
they have access to the chat, they
Okay.
can respond in the afternoon.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Biruk, and thank you,
And
Ben, again.
I think the problem indeed must be in the room because I'm also online and I was able to hear him speak. So
Right.
I'm Levi Senea from Malawi.
Basically, we're having problem in connection.
Yeah, so it should be the room. I think if they can fix that, then we'll have a good participation for those of us online
Close
this
the
afternoon.
session now. We were supposed to.
Thank you, Dr.
close at
Ania.
1
Thank
o'clock.
you.
In fact, we're
Thank
different
you.
matter.
Thank you.
We close the session now. we come back at 2 o'clock. Okay, after lunch, we come back at 2 o'clock and we continue the sessions then. We'll have a presentation from Mozambique. And after that, none of the team who was supposed to replace Kenya is willing to do it. So we'll have to leave the gap and use the online questions and discuss a bit further. Okay, so come back here at 2 o'clock after lunch. Right, thank you all very much.
Yeah, thank you, the team online. Thank you for your patience. We resume after lunch, as you heard from the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. We'll reconnect at 2 p.m., right?
Yes, 2 p.m.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Welcome. Hello. Now you can hear me? Can I speak again? Okay, this is great. I can hear you properly. Thank you very much.
Push.
Hello? We have security that can look after your things, so you can go without your valuables. Someone will stay here and keep them.